And there we go.
Welcome back to Geekfecta, the podcast that brings a few geeks' opinions on the world. We're breaking down all of geekdom one podcast at a time. I'm Bill from Prolific Games, and tonight we're talking about those hard-ass, gun-toting, one-liner dropping action heroes. Joining me as always, because he was sent from the future to protect me from the rise of machines, or at least bad tuna salad, is one and part of the Geek Vice podcast, Morph. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing good, sir. Doing good, and I'm glad that you give me the Terminator bio. I like that one.
I did too. Now, our other two compatriots that sometimes infrequently frequently join us also had tags because they were supposed to join us tonight, but they bailed. But I thought they were awesome, so I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Normally, I would say also joining us is Morph's comic relief sidekick, who may be getting too old for this shit, Kip, because he likes to throw his age out there. And
Yeah.
then lastly joining us is my tough as nails police captain who tells me I'm writing checks that my butt can't cash. My partner from Prolific Games, John. But neither one of those sad sacks joined us. So it's just you and me. What do we classify as action heroes?
So, when we picked action heroes and we were going to talk about that one tonight, I had to, we had to have some emails back and forth just to make sure that we were on the same page, because you can go a bunch of different directions with action heroes. So we came to the agreement that it did not involve superheroes or superpowers. So I tried really hard to keep this narrowed down to kind of the Joe Schmo, man on the street turned hero type thing. The average Joe who can kick the crap out of somebody with just his pinky, but doesn't really have any superhero powers or superpowers, not superhero powers.
And I agree with that. As I was looking through mine, I came up with a few people, and then I was like, but he's got magic powers, or he has a magic sword, or he has this, or he has that.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, I want to keep it with like there could be just as equally as good as anyone else in that universe. They just do it a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and I probably I feel like I did a pretty good job on most of these. I think I've got one of them that's a little bit of a stretch, but it's on my bad, so it doesn't really matter.
there you go. I think again, because we tend to save the ones that we really want to talk about for last. I say we save the movies for last this time.
Yeah, I think that's a good
Not a
idea.
lot, but occasionally we get the books last or something if we both have geeked out on some comic that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
What would you like to talk about first?
Well, how about we start with books this time? Because I know this was probably my hardest one to come up with. It took me a little bit of thinking to come up with my good, and I couldn't come up with a bad, partly because I don't. It's kind of one of those when you start reading a book, if it ends up being bad, you put it away and you never turn back to it. So if it's really so bad that you can remember it, then it's going to go on here. But that doesn't happen very often,
I agree. Books are the hardest one for the worst because, 20, 30 pages in, you're just like, nope,
Yeah.
not doing it.
Yeah, and so you just kind of put it in the bottom of the pile and never get back to it. So do you want to start with good or bad first?
Let's start with the good.
All right. Well, I will start off here because this book was this was a book that I picked up quite a while ago and read it because I wasn't really into a whole lot of books at the time. And it's written by Tom Clancy, and it is a book called Without Remorse. So this is one of his first books that he did. It was originally published in 1993, but it loosely fits into the Jack Ryan universe in the Tom Clancy books, which most people are familiar with. Jack Ryan, he is he's Ben Affleck in the really bad, what was it, Patriot Games, I think.
Right.
He was, the bad character in Clear and Present Danger. Those are Jack Ryan, but Without Remorse centers around more of a sidekick in the Jack Ryan universe, and his name's John Clark. This guy is a badass. he is just a physical badass. He's a ex special forces guy. He's worked for the CIA. He basically ends up with, I don't even remember how he ends up uh, like completing a like black ops mission before this book starts, and they can't pay him for this because it's completely off the books, non-existent. So they pay him by giving him an island. So he gets
Wow.
he gets a small island off the like New England area, and it used to be for bombing raids, like practice bombing raids during the first couple World Wars, and they don't need it anymore, so it's just sitting there. It's got a bunker on it, and that's what he lives on. And he's got a little just a little speedboat that he goes back and forth to get to the mainland, and Without Remorse centers around him and his actions, not in combat. This is him in real life. He falls in love with a girl. She ends up getting basically murdered by a drug overdose from some drug dealer, and so Clark goes on the mission of eliminating this drug dealer, and it's just him using his special forces tactics, his spy knowledge and infiltration ability, and just going through and kicking the crap out of every person there. And it's awesome. This would be a great movie. They keep taking all these Tom Clancy books and turning them into movies, but for some reason they keep skipping over this one. This would be way better movie than any of
Right.
the others they've done.
And you don't have to create some foreign threat. You just have drug
Yeah,
dealing.
yeah. And who likes a drug dealer? Like that's
Right.
drug dealers are always the bad guys in movies, and so this would be a perfect one for it. If you haven't read this book, I definitely recommend it. I mean, it's a little dated, coming from over 20 years ago now.
Right.
Uh, there's some spots in it where it mentions stuff where you're like, oh yeah, that's that's kind of old, but
Right.
in the same sense, the story itself still fits.
Nice. Nice. Um, so as I was looking through, like trying to come up with a book to give me a good action hero, I went, oh God, I read a James Bond book a long time ago, but it was like college, which is like 20 some years ago, and I forced my way through it just to say I've read one.
Yeah.
Then I was like, well, is Tarzan? Because I read that, but that wasn't really that great, and he's kind of lame. Um, then I went through like, well, what about the Jack? No, I never read those. So like, I know all these guys that are books, but I never read them. So as I was looking for action hero, our definition was no superpowers. My action hero doesn't have superpowers. It is set in space though. Um, it's there's a book called Santiago by Mike Resnick, and the main character's name is Sebastian Nightingale Kane. Um, and in throughout this book, they have this epic poem that's being written by this guy named Black Orpheus, and they just put parts of it in front of each like chapter because like different characters are introduced, and you're somebody if you were put into this poem. And everyone calls Sebastian the songbird because in that poem, that's what Black Orpheus calls him because his middle name is Nightingale, and so everyone calls him the songbird, and he hates it. And so like people will be like, "So can I call you songbird?" And like his response is always something like very long. But he's a bounty hunter, and Santiago is this criminal that's been the most wanted by the galactic government, um, and has the biggest price tag on his head. And he decides, you know what, I'm gonna go get him. Right? I'm a great bounty hunter. I'm finally just gonna step up and do it. What he doesn't know is there's another bounty hunter named the Angel that everyone thinks is like the best ever. And so as he's searching for it, everyone's like, you won't find him. He's like, yep, I know he's hard. He's hard to find. And they're like, no, the Angel's looking for him. He'll get him long before you. And so, I mean, this guy is like, none of it is superpower. None of it is. It's written very much like he's very calculating. He like goes into situations trying to hold all the cards. He thinks ahead. And if you want to read Firefly before it was Firefly, you read Mike Resnick, because he wrote Firefly long before we'd never ever created a universe. Mike Resnick's space stuff is amazing. Um, Obviously, I'm a Mike Resnick fan because I referred to him in the Western stuff last time.
Right.
Um, but I mean, his stuff is very like, you're on the frontier. The government can't cover everywhere, so you have bounty hunters and planetary lawmen and all this stuff, and then you got gamblers and kind of fences and all that stuff. But Sebastian is just unbelievable. The way he thinks around the stuff. And I won't tell you the ending of the book. I mean, it takes a turn. So, but he's pretty awesome. So that's mine. Now, I will say, I almost went with the Punisher in the comic because he doesn't have superpowers.
True.
And the original Punisher comic books were phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
he was like the first anti-hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everyone points to Deadpool as this cool guy and this guy is this cool guy. Like the Punisher was the first, like, look, I'm not a great guy. I'm gonna go do things to gangsters that aren't friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost went with him.
He was definitely on the short list there, and it's hard with any comic book hero like that. You can say that they don't have superpowers. I mean, because realistically, I mean, I guess if you want to go with the letter of the law, you could even say that Batman would fit in as a action hero. But in the same sense, you can make that same argument that they do things so far out of the norm that they almost have to have some sort of gift to it.
But I think with the Punisher, I think you could compare him to some of these like Jack Reachers and James Bond and stuff, and he wouldn't look any more supernatural than them.
Right.
And he's going up against like drug lords and stuff. He's not going up against, Ultron or Mr. Sinister or he's going up against guys that killed his family.
Yeah, and that's where I think he can kind of fit into he's probably the closest one into fitting into that group.
Yep.
Agreed.
But because we talked about no superheroes, I kind of same thing. I kind of put him off to the side.
Yeah.
But he was definitely in there for me. How about your worst?
I don't have a worst for this category, and it's not because I don't there isn't one out there. It's trying to narrow it down, trying to keep it out of the superhero realm. Every time I kept coming up with a worst in a book that I read, it ended up being somebody with a superpower. And so I tried to eliminate that superpower, and I don't really have a whole lot. Mainly, I think, it's kind of that same idea. This is where books make it so hard is if you're reading a book and the main character, the hero of the book sucks, you close the book and you put it away. I mean, so what about you? What'd you got?
So I have two, okay? And the reason I chose two is because one of them you're going to be like, what the hell? And then the other one kind of fell into yours. Like there's supernatural stuff going on, but the guy isn't necessarily – he has a supernatural power, but it's not very good, and it doesn't really do anything for him. So my first one, the character's name is Rusty, okay?
Okay.
In the Warrior books. Do you know what the Warrior books are?
I do not.
Okay. So the Warrior books are young teen books, like preteen, about cats that form little clans in the wilderness, can talk to each other, and go out and do like these warrior type things with each other. Yeah. I read it because my daughter wanted to read it. Like we read a book together and she's like, that was great. Now you should read this because I've read them. And I struggled through the first 3 books for my daughter. And it drove me nuts because it's a freaking cat. Because they talk about this code and honor, but then it talks about spraying its territory. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. Like anytime I start to think, okay, I can get past their cats. If I just don't even think about their cats, it's okay. You know, they got this code of honor. They fight. Hey, they're on our turf. Blah blah blah. Oh, and he sprayed a tree. Gosh darn it. Or he mouse. He went and got a mouse. Like you're just like, what is? And I know that's stretching it, but that's the hero of the book, and it's not supposed to be magical. These are cats that used to live with people and have run away or live in the wild, or so.
There's a crap ton of these books.
There is a gazillion of them.
Oh my
They're
lord!
horrible. My second one, and more closer to our topic, is John Taylor. John Taylor is out of the Night Side books, and what the Night Side is in our world. There's another world kind of overlaid, and it's kind of a supernatural, freaky kind of world. And this guy's a detective, right? And he's spent time in the Night Side, and he spends time in our world. And his one power is that he's able to find anything, right? Like he can search stuff out and locate it, right? So I mean, it's not anything that's going to get him not killed, but he can find things for people. And the way the character was written, and I struggled through a few books because I had some friends that were like, no, this is pretty good. You should read it, blah, blah, blah. And the thing that killed me was, so someone in the real world hires him to take him over there and find this missing person. And so he does, and they're driving along. And at one point in the book, I mean, it's kind of like those detective film noir books where the detective is kind of narrating she walked into my room and,
Sure.
that type of thing. And as they're driving, he's like, everyone travels in packs because no one walks alone on the Night Side. It's so dangerous, right? Then 3 or 4 pages later, he's like, you stand alone on the Night Side because you can't trust anybody. You see one person huddled in the shadows by himself. I'm like, wait a minute. Just 2 pages ago, you said you don't stand alone. Now you stand alone? What's going on, dude? And so I don't know if that's the character's fault as much as the writer's.
Right.
But a character. You're just like, oh my God. Stop. And I feel like the author has this big thing for him coming in the end, and he already knows what it is, and he's trying to allude to it without telling you. And so it just makes the character kind of seem like just annoying and whiny. Like, oh, I didn't want to come back here for this. Well, then why'd you take the damn job? Oh, I shouldn't have brought her with me. Well, why did you? So just one of those things where I'm just like, oh my God, dude, just shut up. So and I read it because I had some friends that say it was decent. I had read some of his stuff that were in collections with Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, who's a wizard detective stuff, and I love those books. I was like, well, they're together. They're both kind of detectives. Maybe this will be as good, and it wasn't even close. So that's my 2 worst. And I know they're not the traditional ones, but like you said, if you're reading a book and it just sucks, you stop. I pushed through the Night Side book. I read the Warrior book for my daughter. So that's all I could come up with.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of a shame that John Taylor character is so bad because that actually, like, just looking at the settings for that and reading the Wikipedia a little bit, I'm like, that actually sounds like it might be good, and it does. It sounds a lot like the Dresden Files books, and I love those books. So
and you're like, this is going to be good, and it's really not.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Okay, let's move on to some games because I know you got some heroes.
Yeah, I do. That I do. Why don't I started off last time? You start off this time. I want to hear what your good is. Okay,
so my best for the action hero genre in board games. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Ready for this? You're gonna try to look it up, huh?
I am.
Fingers ready? It is Action Hero by Prolific Games. It's not out yet. So
I can't find that one.
No, you're not. You can't. This is one of the games I'm bringing to our proto spiel here in Minnesota tomorrow. What it is you play the action hero in a action movie, and you start with 20 red dice. Okay.
Okay.
You have a deck of rooms that have good rooms, bad rooms, and then just empty rooms that are just safe, right?
Okay.
On your turn, you decide if you want to go 1, 2, or 3 rooms. Okay.
Okay.
As you flip over these rooms, they may say that you have to have some sort of challenge. Like some of them are, hey, you have to roll over this number, but you can only use a minimum of this number of dice. Some of them are, hey, you have to roll 1, 2, and 3 in that order. Use as many dice as you want, but any dice you use go away. Okay.
Okay.
You have to get through all 16 of these rooms. Now, in some of the safe rooms, you can gain dice back. By completing some of the danger rooms and succeeding, you get some dice back. The red dice are just normal dice. They just do nothing. There are also gold dice, green dice, blue dice, white dice. So the white dice, if you roll a 6 on it at any time, it's an automatic win.
Okay.
Gold dice counts double. So if you roll a 4, you get 2 4s. The green dice
Awesome.
adds 2. The blue dice returns every time you use it. It doesn't go away.
Okay.
And then there are black dice that you can gain for failing things that actually subtract from your rolls.
Awesome.
All the characters are caricatures of action heroes,
Nice.
and they use the first name John on every one of them because every one of our big action stars, Schwarzenegger, Sly,
Yeah.
Bruce Willis, all those guys have played a John.
Yep.
Okay? And then we use the last name of one of their other characters that didn't start with John. So like we have
Nice.
John Dallas for like Bruce Willis, you know, and then each one has their own little catchphrase. Like Stallone's is like, "Hey yo," catchphrase that's at the bottom of his card.
Nice.
The Schwarzenegger-esque character, not that it's Schwarzenegger, but esque, you know,
Yeah.
is like, "I will return another day." You know? So we have that. And so we've play tested it a bunch. It's fun. We like it. Some of the rooms are like, okay, now let's attack them one at a time. And there'll be like a group of guys like standing around him. And so that reflects how you have to roll the dice to beat them. There's the parking garage. You know, there's one of the safe rooms is the air duct, you know, so you can go through it. And then at the end, whoever gets to the end first. Oh, so we decide if you move 1, 2, or 3 rooms. If
Right.
you move 3 rooms, you're moving faster because you want to get to the end first and beat the end bad guy first. That's how you win the game.
Sure.
But if I don't move that many, if I only choose to move 1 or 2, I get that many action cards that I can play later on for each one I don't move. So if I only move 1, I'll get 2 action cards after I complete that. But I'm
Okay.
moving slower. But those can also get me more dice or let me re-roll something or
Right.
one of those things. When you get to the end, there's a big giant boss that has some big final thing that usually you have to have at least 7 dice left for. Because if you don't, you probably aren't going to win. And if you beat him, you win the game. If not, you go all the way back to the beginning. You can start over if
Oh,
you want,
jeez.
or you can just be like, "I beat it." One of the end ones is a fist fight with a Harrier jet.
Nice.
You know, because it's just stupid, like tropey action things. You know,
Well, because that's what action heroes do,
right,
especially the really bad ones.
right. Now that being said, I do have another one. Okay,
Well, okay. Well, before you go on to your other one, because I want to know, since you've already spilled this one, that this is a Prolific Games game that's going to be coming out. Is this one that could be on Kickstarter relatively soon?
It's not our next one. It's not our next one.
You do this a lot. You do realize that, right?
We have
Because
tons of games.
we had Tricked Out Hero that Kip and I were all like jonesing for, and then all the other ones came out before Tricked Out Hero. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying too. I know. No, it just happened to fall into this category, and I was like, you know what? I'm saying it because
that's awesome.
But we probably have 20, 25 games in the works. At different stages. And that just happens to be one that we're bringing this weekend because and it's funny because I do initial design on most of this stuff, and then John comes back and goes, "Hey, how about if we change this?" Or I didn't like the way this felt, and so we just had a recent where we sat down with a couple of friends and play tested a bunch of the ones that I had been working on, and he hadn't played any of these, And I had only played them kind of mentally, like, okay, I think this would work, and what if I did
Right.
this, and maybe laid some stuff out and went, okay, no, that didn't work. Let's do it this way, whatever. And so we had a list of these games ready, right? And just to give you a hint, or just to give you a sense of what we're playtesting this weekend, we're
Right.
playing Pack Wars,
Okay.
Action Hero,
Uh-huh.
Great Squirrel Migration,
Right.
and then Shopkeeper Roll, and what was the other one? There's one other one, Tavern Brag. Those are the names of the games that are some of the closest. Okay.
Okay.
Just to give you the wide range of what we're doing.
Right.
John had really been anticipating playing the Great Squirrel Migration, and one of the other ones, and he was like, Action Hero, I don't know, it sounds okay. And we played it, and he was like, oh my God, that was way more fun than I thought it was. Because we're literally like, do I spend 2 dice, or do I spend, I can definitely beat this if I spend 4, but if I spend 4, I won't have enough left at the end. Maybe I spend 3. Like, you're literally like worrying over, like, how do I, but if I succeed, I'll get one of those. Oh man, maybe I should just fail.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it worked out very, very well. We'll see how people receive it. It's kind of one of the nice things of having some of the friends that we have and having the way John and I do it. Like, his initial playtest is usually like coming in blind. You know what I mean? Like, he has a premise of what the game is, but then he comes in and goes, "Oh, that's what you meant." So,
yeah,
so that's really nice.
That's awesome.
It's not the next Kickstarter. I'm sorry. The next Kickstarter is going to be Pack Wars.
Awesome.
But it'll be in there. It'll be in hopefully one of the next few. So
very cool. Very cool. There you go.
Every game that isn't a shameless plug is Feng Shui. Have you ever heard of Feng Shui?
I have not.
So Feng Shui is Atlas Games RPG about action hero movies. Like, you're basically playing an action hero. I mean, it's not like a movie in the game, but it's as if one of those movies was real, right? So you're playing a guy that, like, jumps off of buildings and shoots 2 guns as he falls, and it's an interesting system. It's fun. It's RPG. It's designed just for action heroes. So
very cool.
That's going to be my other game. Feng Shui by Atlas Games.
I like that. I have to check that one out.
Right?
Because that's what I do. This is part of the reason why I love doing this podcast with you, because you have so much other stuff that I've never even heard of, and then you throw it out there. I'm like, oh, I need to check that out. Maybe I can go play that. Well, I just like when you go to the page and there's a monk standing there on the page, and you're like, oh yes, this is gonna be awesome.
And it's like the Hong Kong action movies, right?
Yeah,
like 8,000 bullets.
Yeah, exactly.
And for me, I mean, I'm kind of an RPG junkie. Like, I like trying new systems. I like seeing new, like, if someone goes, "Hey, I got this system," I'll be like, yeah, "Okay, sure." Because I find them fun.
Yeah.
And I think just about every system I put it in something bad about it. So, but Feng Shui is if you're looking to play an RPG and you want to do some sort of action stuff type thing, that's the one to go with.
Very cool.
How about you? What's your best?
My action hero for video games goes with a character that at the beginning of the game you are nothing more than a simple scientist, and by the end of the game you're a badass gun wielding save the universe hero of the game, and the character's name is Gordon Freeman from Half-Life.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, Half-Life, well, first of all, when Half-Life came out, this is the Valve game that when it came out back in, what was that? Late 90s, early 2000s? 1998. There you go.
I was going to say it was going to have to be like mid to late 90s, because I have played it, and I haven't played video games in forever.
Yeah,
So
I mean, and that was kind of the idea, was that this game, when it came out, it was breathtaking. The graphics were really good. The story was amazing, and it literally was. You played as Dr. Gordon Freeman, who was just a simple scientist in a in what did he have, a PhD in theoretical physics, I think, and it was like you're working in a black site, lab, and everything goes wrong and you're left with nothing. I just remember starting the game off with all you have is a crowbar. Like
yeah,
you pick a crowbar up and you're fighting off aliens with a crowbar. And you keep moving forward and try to find anything you possibly can, but you never gave up the crowbar. You always
right.
had to keep the crowbar just in case you ran out of bullets. And it's just awesome game. They've got Half-Life 2, and they've got the different episodes for it. It's an amazing game, and he is an amazing character, and that's kind of when this came up, and I needed to find a video game character. This is the first guy that came to mind.
Nice. Nice. I like him. I for some reason, I thought, and like I said, I don't play a lot of video games anymore, but I know kind of the landscape.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna, God, what is it? He's kind of like the man Laura Croft. He came out of, he's somewhat recent. God, I can't think of his name.
Nathan Drake.
Yeah,
from the Uncharted.
Yep, because I know a ton of my friends are like, Uncharted is amazing. Blah.
And you know what? I probably would have gone with that, except I've never actually played any of those games.
Nice.
Because I don't own a PlayStation, so I don't own a PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4. So
for me, it's kind of fun trying to guess like what some of you guys are gonna say, and like I know you're the video game guy, so I'm always like, who is he gonna choose? And I thought I gotta go with them. Maybe he's straight up Tomb Raider, but I think he's gonna go with him. And then the Half-Life one surprised me.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I could keep you on your toes. So my bad one for video games, this is the one that I kind of stretched the most, because this character has, first of all, it comes from the game Final Fantasy 13. So it's a Final Fantasy game, so it already stretches the bounds of any sort of reality anyway. Right. But the main character in that is a girl named Lightning. And her real name's like Claire or something like that, but she goes by Lightning in the game. And she is just the character, much like you had a problem with what was it, John Taylor in the book?
Yeah. Yep.
This is the same problem I have with this character. She's whiny. They try to make her standoffish and better than everybody else, like that attitude, that arrogance attitude to it. But it just comes off as, no, you're just a stupid piece of shit. Yeah. Like, you're not even good. And she's supposed to be the main character. She's supposed to be the one driving the story forward. But all it was is like, I couldn't play because I just got sick of her. Like, even when I tried to remove her from the party, she still needed to be in the group in order to move the story forward. Like,
she's the main character. Can I leave her behind?
Can I just put her over here to the side and just not look at her? Like, her abilities in the game were even bad. And it's like, man, and that's actually the last Final Fantasy game that I have that I purchased, because I disliked it so much, and they had like 2 other sequels based off character. I hate this character so much I'm not even going to bother playing anymore because they're just that bad. That's my worst. What about you?
So my worst, now there isn't a board game that I've played that has an action hero theme that I've disliked, because there's not many.
Right.
Like Agents of Smirch and stuff like that, but those are good games. And so I had to go to the video game world, and I didn't want to go cartoony. So for me, the reason this one's so bad is because its predecessor was so good. So I had the Nintendo 64, and the number one game on Nintendo 64 is what? Come on.
Mario?
No. If you were my age in college, it was GoldenEye. You played the crap out of GoldenEye.
Yes.
You played against friends nonstop, the missions. You're like, this is great. You're playing this mission. The storyline's awesome. And you
Yeah.
go, this is great. When's the next one coming out? Oh, we lost the license to it. But here's Perfect Dark. And you get Joanna Dark. And you go, the graphics are shittier. The weapons are crappier. The controls are a little worse. And the storyline I don't give a damn about.
Yeah.
And every time she talks, you just go, I hate you. You're not James Bond. I'm gonna go put in the game that's how much older than you because it's better.
Yes.
So for me, it's Joanna Dark because it wasn't Bond. It wasn't James.
I completely I understand exactly where you're coming from. I never got into the Perfect Dark series. That was a game that I played it. I played it on the N64, but I never really it didn't click. Same kind of thing. It never really clicked for me. Like it wasn't what I wanted, and so I don't think I actually owned it. I think I borrowed it from somebody and then quickly gave it back and said, "Yeah, I don't need that anymore."
I played GoldenEye through every level on every difficulty.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how many missions into Perfect Dark and went, should we just play multiplayer? Like, let's just do that. And then you play multiplayer and they have those Sentinel guns, and whoever finds those and just starts setting them up wins. Like, you don't have to be in the same room with you. I can just set these things up and they'll kill you. Awesome.
It
was bad.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
I was just not, like, literally my friends and I would try to get knife kills. Like, we'll just throw knives at each other. Let's see if we can kill each other this way. That's, like, interesting.
Yeah, at least to give it some sort of fun. And that's the sad thing is that game that game actually gets a 5 out of 5 on Metacritic and a 9.8 out of 10 on IGN.
How?
Like, people love that. I honestly, here's the thing with Perfect Dark. I think it fits into that. The category that it fits in is either you love it or you hate it. Like, there's not a middle ground to it. It's either you are all about that game, and there's probably, well, just like anything, there's a lot of people who really like something bad, and then there's the rest of us that just look at it and go, yeah.
Well, it's got to be like, if you love it, you're out there like, oh, this is one of the best games. I love this game. And if you hate it, you're like, I don't even have the time to go rate it bad because it was so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not worth my time. I'm just gonna go play a GoldenEye.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That was my worst. So,
well, now we're to the part that I am sure we are going to have lots to talk about.
Well, I'm hoping we don't clash too much on the good and the bad together. So
I don't know. We're gonna see. I'm curious. I want to see
first because this one's gonna tie into your worst a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Your worst for games was that lightning chick who was whining and whatever, right?
Right.
So my favorite action hero of all time is John McClane. Okay? Die Hard, right?
Yep.
And the reason for it is he's got some good lines, right? It's not the super cheesy lines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more of kind of thought out, like, morose kind of humor, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's the guy that he's the right guy in the wrong place all the time, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be the hero, but damn it, there's no one else around.
Yep.
And where your character for that worst comes off as whiny and like, Yep. John McClane is just the guy that, like, he's been beat up, he's got cuts, he's got glass in his feet, and he's just like, okay, let's do this.
Yep.
You know? He's not whining about it. He's not.
No,
really
he's just all about it.
He's sighing and he's just like, okay, let's do it. I'm the only one here.
Yeah, he's not overly excited to do it. He's just like, you know what? By God, this has to be done, and no one else is willing to do it. I'm gonna do it.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. What are they on? Like number 5 or 6 now?
Yeah.
I'll
5,
watch
I think.
any of them if they're on.
Yeah.
You Live Free, Die Hard, sure.
Yeah.
Die Hard with a Vengeance, okay. You know, the second one is the one I'd watch the least, probably.
Yeah.
But even the newest one where he has his son and stuff, I'm like, it's John McClane. I'll watch it.
Yeah. Well, and
So,
this and the the last one was way over the top and
right.
way kind of cheesy. But you know what? It, it's an action hero movie. Uh,
Yep.
if it's not over the top, and I mean honestly, if you stop and go look at even the original Die Hard, yeah,
Yep.
that was kind of over the top and cheesy
Right.
at times. Sure, but you didn't have anybody punching an airplane or riding on the
Right.
nose of an airplane, but
Right.
still. And okay, so you went with John McClane. I also went with John McClane
Of course.
because he is the epitome of an action hero. He is the best action hero. I mean, eh, there's just no question about it. I mean,
Right.
I freaking love that movie. And that's Die Hard actually falls into the I this is one of my favorite Christmas movies, and I can't wait for my kids to get just
Right.
a little bit older so I can watch this movie with them because I think they will enjoy it as much as I do.
So here's the funny story, right? My 12-year-old is super into Friends, like the TV show.
Sure.
And she's watched them all the way through at least once and is going through them again, right? And she was watching an episode on her Chromebook the other day, and I walk in and it's the one where they're like, "Die Hard, Die Hard!" Like all the guys are watching and like, "Let's watch it again." And the one guy's like, or I forget who says it, but he's like, "No, I'm gonna leave because in a little bit here, Joey's gonna start punching me and calling me bitch." Die Hard, bitch. So, and I heard it as I'm coming into the room, like I'm talking. I knew the line that was coming up, and I was like, "Die Hard!" And Abby goes, "You've seen that movie?" I was like, "Oh my god, Abby, it is one of the greatest movies of all time." She's like, "Really? Can I watch it?" Not quite yet.
You got a few more
And,
years.
and the other reason I like that he's in this is because this is timely. Well, maybe not when it comes out on iTunes or whatever, but timely for the time of we lost the best villain of all time. We
Yeah.
lost Hans Gruber recently.
Yes, that
You
is
know,
true.
his dry just deliverance of that character. Oh my god! I mean,
I mean,
it's what you needed on the other side of this.
he was perfect. I mean, he was perfect. It was, I mean, honestly, and that's, I mean, if you want to go in even as far as saying that Die Hard just had the perfect casting of hero
Yep.
and villain that
Even
you
even the cop that's on the radio with him is like the
oh yeah,
perfect like hey man, I'm
the
here
guy from
with you.
Family Matters.
Right. But just the kind of the character he plays, like I'm not up there, but I'm with you, man,
Yeah,
and they form a bond over a radio,
yeah,
and you believe it.
exactly. Oh yeah, and it was. I mean, you bought in. You just sat there like you find yourself a good action movie, a really good action movie with a really good action hero gets you. You start with the movie and you're sitting back, you're relaxed, you're watching the movie, and then at some point in the movie, you don't even know when, but at some point in the movie, you have moved yourself to the edge of your seat and you are now leaning into the screen going, come on, you can do it. And you have probably seen the movie 40, 50, 60 times, but you still get invested into that movie because of the hero and his interactions with the other people around. And John McClane fits that bill perfectly.
Exactly. And I'll say this: I watched all the Schwarzenegger movies when I was a little kid. My dad, watched all the Stallone,
Yeah.
watched all the Van Damme, watched all those.
Yeah.
I can't watch Commando right now. It's
No.
god awful.
Yeah.
I can't watch any of Stallone Cobra or any of those. They're terrible.
Well,
If
you
Die
go
Hard
Van
came on
Damme,
right
any of
now,
Van Damme's movies are bad.
right?
They just don't fit.
If Die Hard came on right now, I'd be like, "Ooh, Die Hard." You
I,
know what I mean? Like I'm gonna sit down and watch it, and that to me shows why it's like one of the best action movies of all time.
there's actually a really good chance that tomorrow I turn on Die Hard.
Nice.
So, I mean, now that it's been brought up and we've talked about it, I kind of want to go watch it. And if I watch it tonight, I'll just be up all night. And I don't think that'd be a good idea for my work tomorrow. So I might just start it tomorrow.
Aaron, why are you tired? Die Hard, bitch.
Yeah, yeah.
That probably would be good.
So we had the same best here. Now I'm curious to see who your worst is. and see if we line up on this one.
Okay, so for me, the worst action hero of all time has got to be any Steven Seagal character ever. Did we nail it? Did I nail it?
Nailed it.
So, and here's why. Oh, so what? You're an Italian guy that studies Zen philosophy, but beats the crap out of anybody? Wait, doesn't that counteract Zen Buddhism? Oh wait, and you're always wearing your pajamas, and you hang out in the most Asian part of the city, no matter where you are, even Alaska.
Yep.
I mean, and even your ponytail is awesome. Like, just the worst action hero in anyone you want.
Oh yeah, there, and and it's the fact that he keeps to go the exact like polar opposite. You have the Die Hard movies where you have 4 of them, same character.
Yep.
But Bruce Willis doesn't really have another action movie that is just like John McClane, excuse me, but
Right.
not John McClane.
Right.
Steven Seagal has the same character in every single one of his movies, and they range all the way from Man on Fire, or no,
Not Man on Fire. That's a good
no,
movie.
that's a good one. Well, hell, Under Siege
Right.
to Exit Wounds.
Yep.
I mean, you have Under Siege
Hard
where
Target,
he's
isn't that his?
yeah, Hard Target's another one. It's just
They're all the same.
they are, and I will say that I do have one favorite of Steven Seagal's movies, and that is Under Siege. I think it's one of I like it. I like it just because it's not Steven Seagal though. It's Gary Busey.
Okay. Fair enough, but it's off.
Oh, I'm not saying it's good. It's like a guilty pleasure. I will,
Oh,
and I get in trouble for it.
But you're a trained Navy SEAL? What?
Oh,
You
God.
studied martial arts?
Yeah, and he's an expert in explosives.
Now here's the one thing I will say for Seagal. Okay?
It's the
Are you ready?
cook.
His fight scenes are probably more realistic than most.
Oh yeah,
Right? I mean, he's using Savat, and he's using just basically arm stuff. Like, I'm gonna take your arm and bust it, and then push you away.
Yep.
Fine, that's great, but your acting sucks.
Yeah.
Anytime you hold a gun, you look ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're way too overweight. In his later one.
Especially his latest movies. Because have you seen his TV show?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Where he's the sheriff or something. It's like, oh my God.
And go back to I gotta go back to the Zen. Like, oh, I'm believing in a Zen Buddhist lifestyle. Okay, that means you don't kill anything.
Yeah. You're not
you
interested in material things.
Right. You became a cop
Yeah.
and always wear black pajamas? What the hell?
I'm pretty sure that if you were truly following it, you take a vow of pacifism and
Right.
you're nonviolent.
You pick up spiders and put them outside your house.
Yeah, it's
Break guys' arms.
oh, it's yeah, absolutely.
I can't do him. I watched him when I was a kid. You know, my dad rented them or whatever. Because we watched every action movie, right?
Yeah.
And to this day, I have never once been like, you know what I'd kind of like to see. Right? I've had where it's like, you know what, I think I might watch Time Cop just to see how bad it is. You know? And to see Van Damme do his little splits, or at least Bloodsport, right?
Yeah.
I'll watch Bloodsport because, you know, all the different styles of fighting and stuff. Okay, I'll watch that. Or
Bloodsport, you skip like the first half of it and just get to the fighting at the end.
Or I'll watch Demolition Man for Stallone, right?
Yeah.
Or I'll watch Terminator for Schwarzenegger. There isn't a Seagal movie where I'm like, you know what I could really use? One where he's going against oil companies in Alaska. That could be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Or better yet, you go with
Deadly Ground. Is that what it's called?
Is that one on Deadly Ground or is
I
that
think
Fire
so.
Down Below?
Oh, it could be that one. I don't know.
I don't know. They're bad. They're all bad. Or like
Yeah.
you can go with Glimmer Man with one of the Wayne's brothers.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
you can go
And that just shows you something. Look at his second tier actors in his movie.
oh yeah.
They're also guys that you're like, I don't want to watch them.
Well, and he's still coming out with movies. I mean, you got Exit Wounds has a freaking rapper in it. You know, you,
Like DMX.
yeah, yeah, it's one of them. I don't even remember which one.
I'm pretty sure it's DMX.
You've got even the covers of the movies like look
It's
the
all just
same.
this big head silhouetted behind some, or in front of something, right?
Yeah, like I mean, it's just freaking awful, and they're still coming out. I mean, he had the movie this last year, Absolution. He's got it, and he's got another movie here. Looking at it, I actually have to click on it because I want to know when this thing's coming out. It doesn't actually say
Now I
because
will say that.
it doesn't have a date on it, but it's called Dark Vengeance.
Oof. Direct to DVD.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I
Maybe.
mean, just stop. Just
Right.
stop, dude. Realize that
Okay.
you are not going to hack it anymore. And
Realize that people want someone that can act
yeah,
these days. Because here's the thing. When I was looking through action heroes and stuff, there were other guys that I was like, man, this one movie of his is really good. But the John McClane character kind of goes through all of them, right? So that's why I had to give it to him. But
yeah,
the other two I actually looked at. One was Denzel Washington, and I could have taken Man on Fire
yeah,
or The Enforcer. Either one of those, because they were both phenomenal.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
haven't seen The Enforcer, it's amazing. It's one of his more recent ones, right?
Uh,
Um, but Man on Fire, like, oh, that's another one I could watch anytime. Enforcer, I put in a bunch and watch it because I just like it. It's
you're
good.
thinking The
Or
Equalizer.
Equalizer, that's what I mean. Yep, Equalizer.
I have
That's
seen that one. Like I had to
amazing.
look it up. Enforcer did
Right,
not sound
right.
familiar.
The Equalizer. It's amazing. My other one, and it's a guy that I don't usually like, right?
Yeah,
But his two movies that I'd have to give is Keanu Reeves either as Neo in the first Matrix and only the first
only
Matrix,
the first one.
or as John Wick.
I haven't seen that one, but I've heard
Oh,
really good things about it. Like I've
I
heard a lot of people say he
love
was
that
good in
movie.
that one.
That movie is amazing just because they steal his car and kill the dog that his dead wife sent to him, right?
Yeah.
Like she had it set up so when she dies, this dog's delivered with a letter from her,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these Russian mob guys see his car and ask him how much. He's like, it's not for sale and whatever. And so they find his house and they go there and they beat the crap out of him. They kill his dog and they steal his car and they take it to the shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And John Leguizamo is the guy running the chop shop. And this kid comes in like because he's the son of like the big Russian mafia guy. And he's like, hey, I might keep this. Can you do something with this? And Leguizamo looks at him and goes, where'd you get that car? And he's like, what? What does it matter? You work for my dad. He's like, did you kill the man that you got that car from? And the guy's like, no, no. He's like, get that car out of my shop. And the guy's like, you work for us. And Leguizamo just punches him, right? And the guy's like, oh, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill you. And he leaves, right? And Leguizamo sits by the phone, and all of a sudden the Russian mafia guy calls him. And he's like, why'd you hit my son? Or actually, as he's leaving, he's like, my dad's going to kill you. And Leguizamo looks at him and is like, your dad's going to understand. His dad calls Leguizamo and is like, why'd you hit my son? He goes, he stole John Wick's car. The only thing that said is, oh. And then he hangs up. And it's like, oh, never mind. Yep, you should have hit him. And then he goes on to, like, the mafia's guy's son shows up and he punches him a bunch, like beats him a little bit, and then goes on to tell him how, like, John Wick used to work for us and he wanted out. So I gave him an impossible task and he did it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, what the boogeyman's afraid of. And that's where it starts. Wick just going to kill these people. And you're just like, and it's the best Keanu Reeves movie because he doesn't talk at all. All he does is kill.
I'm gonna have to check that one out.
So
Well,
those
and
are like when you
The
think
other,
about action hero, McClane is of the old group, but he transcends it because it's good acting.
right.
You know what I mean? This new group, like Denzel Washington's Man on Fire, The Equalizer,
Oh
you're
yeah.
like, this is brilliant.
Well,
Neo is
well,
amazing.
and
John
Denzel
Wick is a
Washington is
good.
just, and I think if you notice the common thread in this, the ones that transcend time. I mean, I think John Wick is good because of the writing.
Right.
And I think the same thing with Neo and the Matrix. That's
Yep.
the writing from the first one. The last two, those
Right. They're awful.
those are just something different. But that one's the writing. But if you look at the ones that can really transcend time, it's Die Hard and it's the acting. The
Right.
writing is there, but it realistically, if you take the writing from the Die Hard movies, it's not award-winning writing.
Right.
It's
It, it
award-winning
is. It is
acting.
better
Like,
than like Commando, though.
well, wait, yes, yeah, but it's the acting. It's the
Right.
acting that he puts into those characters, and the the casting choices that
Right.
made that movie really work. You take the Equalizer and you take Man on Fire with Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is a phenomenal
Right.
actor. You put him in there with a good to above average story, and
Right.
he's just going to act the crap out of it and make that movie even better. He can bring that up. And
Right.
I think that's where some of these action movies, where you start seeing some of the ones that are just, well, you just see Steven Seagal pumping out
Right.
B-rated movies. You see,
Right. What's
you
the
see
script?
the
I don't
movies that, yeah, you see the movies that Van Damme put out back, there for a while, especially towards the end of his career. Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to get back into it. I mean,
know.
even going with the Expendables, like, and it's an okay movie to try to fit into
But,
that
but here's
action movie
here's also
area.
what I'll say about that is it has Nathan Statham, who's not a horrible actor. I mean,
Yeah,
he's not Denzel Washington, but he's not
no,
bad.
right.
And it has Stallone. And here's what I'm gonna say about Stallone. Of all those older guys like Seagal and Van Damme and Schwarzenegger and him, he is better actor than all of them.
Yeah,
Like he's a better actor. I mean, not Willis necessarily, but the rest of them, he's a better actor than them. Like he played Rocky and made it believable, right?
yeah,
Demolition Man is fun. Like if you watch Demolition Man,
yeah,
he's entertaining in it.
yeah,
Um, I just think he can I don't know, he can pull it off a little bit more. Schwarzenegger, even in his newest one, like the one where he's the sheriff in the small town with Johnny Knoxville, like at one point he's running across the bridge, he's like, I'm so old for this. Like
yeah,
he's still doing like, but it was like a one-liner type line. It was still a one-liner. It's like, dude, like action movies have come past that.
yeah,
Like you don't need to do that anymore.
right. Well, and I think, and the
And
point that the
Stallone was great in Creed.
yeah.
So
Well, and that's kind of the point. The point that I was making to that is this idea that people think that um, that these new action heroes that are coming in, you're starting to get wrestlers in there. You see people like John Cena and
right,
Triple H, and you see these wrestlers come in and they think they're going to be the next action hero. They're going to find that they're
right,
going to take that mantle from Bruce Willis,
right,
and they're they're not. They just can't, because they're
right.
not they're not good actors
He's just
first.
big.
And then the movies that they're putting them in are stereotypical movies, and they're stereotypical 90s movies. Well, we're not
Right,
looking for 90s movies now. You need to now bring that up. You need to be something like Man on Fire or The Equalizer or John Wick, or
right.
something that's got more story to it. And then you have to be a really good actor to be able to play an action hero in a movie that's got a lot of, that has a good story to it, and they're
Well,
going to fall flat.
to prove that point, like you said, they're bringing John Cena and some of those guys in, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going to be the next action star, right? But look at the guys that are doing some of the best ones. Denzel Washington's 50 something.
Yeah.
I thought Jack Reacher with Tom Cruise was really good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that one, but
I haven't seen that one.
or even Live Die Repeat, the Edge of Tomorrow one. That was decent. And I'm
Yeah.
not a huge Tom Cruise fan, but it's like, okay, at least he's putting forth something. Like, I think only out of all these new, like, hey, we're gonna try to get this guy in here and this guy in here, I think the one that stands out is The Rock. Like, I think he's the one that kind of can kind of go, like, he does enough of the humor. He does enough of, like, I don't think he's Denzel. I don't
Right.
think he's Willis, but he's above most of those guys that are just coming out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of The Rock. I'm not a big fan. I haven't seen a movie from The Rock where I actually said, "Oh yeah, I want to see this." Or
Have you seen The Rundown?
is that the one?
He goes to South America to get the guy's kid back.
I don't know that I saw that one. What was
Oh,
the one where he was the sheriff or the
Walking Tall.
yeah, I saw
Nah,
that one and
go
didn't
see The
like that
Rundown.
one.
Go see The Rundown.
And I think the problem was I never felt like any of the movies that he was in, I felt like I was trying to, well, honestly, felt like he was falling into the same trap Seagal was falling into, of I'm just going to take a different name, put a different name on him, but I'm going to be the exact same character. There's no acting to it. Like, there's no give me something more. Like,
Fair enough.
make me want to like you. And because
Go watch The Rundown. Put that on your list.
all
I
right,
think you'll like it.
on my list.
It's
Run down.
good, I think. But yeah, I mean that's the newer stuff isn't great. Willis was a good actor before he started doing action.
Yeah.
So Denzel Washington is a good actor. So I mean it's why they're fun to watch. You know,
Well, maybe
they
I
don't
have
have to be
seen
they don't
this.
have to be so unbelievably ripped. You know,
Yeah.
for you to believe that, oh yeah, he just killed that whole room. I believe that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So,
Well,
well,
that's kind of funny that we lined up on our movies, bad and good, perfectly.
right.
So
The fact that we both just said any Steven Seagal,
yeah,
not
yeah.
just a specific one, any.
I just put Steven Seagal, and then like all the others, I put like what they were in. This one I said you name the movie.
Right. I
And
put in any of his movies.
yeah, like I mean, none of them are good. So that's great. It's even better. So there you go,
Dead
everybody.
on. So, well, that about wraps it up. But before we walk away stylishly while the building explodes behind us, remember to come back next week for a star exploding, hyperdrive jumping space episode. Have a good night.
See ya.